But let me introduce the panelists onto the stage with me first, and by no means least, but despite what he thinks himself, Dr. Joseph Reger. Please join me on stage, Joseph. I will get the panelists to introduce themselves. I think, yeah, you can go that end. There we go. That'd be nice. No, I'll sit here. Yeah, then people can cross in front of you. It'd be more fun. You can introduce yourself in a moment, Joseph. Next on stage, please, Jake Smith from Intel. Jake, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate Intel's support. Jake, you can take the honor of sitting next to Joseph. Oh, my God, John. Now I've pronounced your last name multiple times, and I'm still drawing a blank. John Kissane. Beautiful. You see, if you'd have told me that straight away, I would have had no trouble. I am so sorry. You may call me whatever you like in future. And then last but by no means least, of course, Dr. Alex Bazin from Fujitsu in the UK. Although he tells me he's an American as well, he's also going to, just like me being an American, he will also join us. We wanted to make sure we did have some real Americans on the stage now, not just wannabes like us guys on stage. So, the format we're going to do, we'll do a little introduction from the panel. For those of you that have read the perspective on this session, we're going to talk about digital transformation. We've got some core concepts we're going to go through, and I'm going to ask some of the panelists to comment on this. But later on in the session, I really am going to open this up for some interaction. So as you're listening to the panelists and you decide you may want them to, like, well, what did he mean by that? Or can he explain a bit more? Then I'm going to be looking around later on for one or more of you to answer some questions, ask me some questions, excuse me, on the fly. And we have Tamara, who is very tall. There she is, back of the room. She's waving. She's got a mic. So if you do ask a question, Tamara will run like a gazelle over to you, leaping the chairs to give you the mic. And I just ask that you don't ask your question before she gets there, otherwise no one can hear, and we're trying to stream it online. You know the gig. If you do yell out a question, I will be forced to repeat it. And of course, therefore, I will make up the question, being completely new, that will suit the panelists. So hold for Tamara to come in. But let's get going. Let's do some intros so you know exactly what competence the folks have got here on stage. Joseph, please take us away. Give us a little introduction to yourself, a bit more than you did this morning, perhaps. That would be great.
So I'm a Hungarian-born German. I've been with Fujitsu for 18 years now, trained as a physicist, and I thought I will retire from academia, but it didn't turn out that way. So in the mature age of 30-something, I went to the industry and started to be interested in computers and IT, and I'm still interested, and it can stay that way. And I have no desire to go to any other companies. I tremendously enjoy what I do at Fujitsu, where I am the Chief Technology Officer for the Europe, Middle East, India, and Africa region. And I have a bit of freedom to look at things that I think is interesting. They just need to be the same things that they actually turn out to be interesting later on. That's all.
And as Jürgen said this morning, you've been at Fujitsu a long time, which means you must be very old.
Exactly. So he said the word he used was experienced or something like that.
Yeah, but you and I translated that.
That's what he meant. He meant he's old guy. Yes, yes, I know. Yes, yes.
Jake, please. You know what you're in for now.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's good to know that I'm always surrounded by Hungarian-born physicists in my life. So. For those of you who don't know, my name's Jake Smith. I came to Intel 16 years ago because of another Hungarian-born physicist who happened to be named Andy Grove. And in my role at Intel, I'm a Director of Data Center Solutions and Technologies. But prior to that, I was fortunate enough to be a part of the team that brought the world the first smartphone and also brought the world Wi-Fi. So I was a member of the Centrino Mobile Technology launch team. So really, really honored to be here. In my current role, I focus on technologies like virtualization, cloud computing, and then a little memory technology we call 3D Crosspoint. And so it's a real honor to be here among this esteemed group of panelists, with the exception, of course, of Richard. But just kidding.
I do still have a live mic, remember. I haven't shut me off yet.
I'll hold that. But no, it's a great honor to be here. Intel is, we have a wonderful partnership with Fujitsu on a global basis. We continue to grow that relationship in new and innovative ways. And I hope that everybody here takes advantage of the transformation that Joseph talked about earlier, because it's very real, it's happening in real time, and it's transforming industry, and it's transforming the way we work, live, and play.
John Kissane, NetApp.
Great, yes, John Kissane with NetApp. I'm both the general manager of our cloud business and then also the chief strategy officer, report to our CEO. We're a Fortune 500 data management and storage company. In fact, we're on the cusp of being the largest independent such company in a matter of months. And we're excited to be here. We're a great Fujitsu partner, and Fujitsu's a great partner with us. I just came in from our sales kickoff with our worldwide sales team in Las Vegas, and Fujitsu kindly was a premium sponsor there and had members of their team speaking with our go-to-market team. You know, my background is quite varied. Trained as an engineer, studied East European history and engineering as an undergraduate, which is a very popular combination. I'm sure it's just catching on. I'm at the forefront of that. But my focus has more been on business and technology. Most recently, I joined 4 years ago, so I'm a young one at NetApp, in that I came over from CA Technologies, where I headed all mergers and acquisitions for a number of years.
Excellent. Thank you, John. Thank you for being with us. And we know that you will be back, I think, to grace us with your good presence a little later on today as well. Don't forget, we're going to be back here later on this afternoon, ladies and gents, as well. And Alex, please introduce yourself.
So I'm Alex Bazin. I'm head of Internet of Things within Fujitsu's Global Delivery Group. So I have the joy of looking across all of Fujitsu's technologies and bringing those to our regional customers and working with our sales regions to help them deliver the benefits of IoT and digitalization. My background is engineering, as pretty much everyone on the panel, and then I was specialized in biometrics. So I did a number of large government contracts for biometrics just in the early days of the biometrics industry. And what's really interesting, I find, is that actually I'm seeing many of the same questions, same conversations, same challenges in digital transformation that we saw in the early days of biometrics. What's the business case? What are the privacy implications? Is it secure? Does it work? All those kind of things. And so it's very interesting, sort of as a second go-round innovative technology to look at those same questions again.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, for those of you that remember the agenda and how we introduced this session, we're going to talk a little bit about digital transformation. But there were three elements to the story in the write-up, and I thought what I'd do first of all, and this irritated the panel slightly because I made them think about this, chop up digital transformation into its 3 or 4 major pieces. What are the implications of digital transformation? How can we exploit the benefits of it? How could you exploit the benefits from it? How could you, as potential prospects, end users, customers of ours, minimize the risks? And then, do we actually have any real concrete examples we can talk about on the way? So perhaps the best thing for me to do is just kick it off right at the beginning. I'm going to go far away from me and start with the guy with the big clock, I think, on his wrist, because he never runs over time. So what... Unlike the German trains, Dr. Joseph Reger. So Joseph, implications of digital transformation. Let's take it away with that story, and then we'll follow on with the other panelists.
So this industry is giving you every couple of years a new topic, a new era, a new hype, and we tell you that everything you learned and have done before is now useless because there is this new era in IT. In reality, this doesn't happen, of course. The IT industry is very remarkably accumulative in the sense that everything we do, we keep it around forever. So when you hear about the mainframe era, it sounds like, ooh, that was long ago. You know what? We do manufacture mainframes, and that's a very, very nice business. So it's not going anywhere. It's just smaller, and it's not at the forefront. in terms of what we talk about. And the same applies to, we could go through the whole IT industry. So now we are telling you that the digital transformation is something that will totally change the entire industry and your business and your life as an individual. And probably for the first time ever, this is likely to happen. It is likely to happen because the digital transformation is not a single thing. It's just a description of a way of dealing with optimization and taking IT operation businesses to the next level in such a way that for the first time ever, we are changing the business models. Remember back in the old days, well, the mainframes did not change business models, so the PCs didn't either. What the PCs did, they sort of destroyed the internal IT structure of all times and replaced it with departmental computing. But no one dared at that time to say that, no, this isn't development in IT that's going to knock you out in terms of business models and things like that. But this time around, it is like that, and that is because of the hyper-connected nature of the whole business and the entire world, that sharing and defining value chains such that lots of people can participate. And so there are companies who find it very valuable if the customers participate in the value chain. This is all the focus on customer feedback, customer ideas, open innovation, and so on. Others find it very useful if you can include the maintenance parts into the product lifecycle management in such a way that you even change the nature of your product and redesign it. Others find that the distribution can be dramatically different, and it all can be, and it's all done through the same mechanism, and that's what we call digital transformation. So the implications of it is that even if we will not use the term, because at the least the IT industry will be in the position to change the term, even if we continue to do the same things. So in a couple of years from now, there will be other stuff that we will be using, some clever words put into a phrase, but a process will continue though, and the process is getting the efficiencies that are hidden, globalizing everything and putting everything into a shareable model so that efficiencies, and not just for, this is not just about money and companies, this is about the planet if you want. We were talking about Portland and the orientation of environmental interest and everything very well.
We're hippies, you can say it.
Yeah. And it can do that. So we do the noble things as well. So again, digital transformation is here to stay, whatever we will call it. It will change businesses, and our lives too. And what it will also do is that it will let us do certain things that otherwise mankind or businesses would not be able to do, and some of them are noble, some others are not, but that's the way it happens.
So I think that the implications are becoming more and more clear to me. But John, what if our audience members were saying, what's the best way that they could go forward to exploit the benefits of digital transformation? What do you think that would be?
So although I've lived in Europe and Asia and a number of different states, I'm the guy from Silicon Valley right now, so I'm going to put out the provocative statement that the best thing you could do to embrace digitalization is get naked. And what I mean by that is slim down the assets that run your IT, because a business needs to focus on the customer part and the data part. And if you look at the world today, businesses that focus on the customer need and the data that can supply them, and then work with partners to put together the infrastructure, the business model, the pieces that drive the most value together, are going to be the successful winners in the next inning of the game. We're hosted today at the Hilton. The Hilton has 678,643 rooms worldwide. Airbnb has access to over 1 million rooms and owns none of them. No assets, but it has the IT and the systems and the data and the customers, and they meet a customer need that was untapped. And everybody in every industry, I believe, has a chance to tap into that vein of thinking and become more successful for the next inning of the game through the digital transformation. And I'll put that out there.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. Is one thing around digital transformation is actually, yes, the technology is great and it's all interesting, and I'm a technologist at heart and I love it, but actually it's about the business conversations, it's about the user experience, it's about meeting customer needs, and technology is then something you bring to bear once you've identified that business challenge and that customer need, rather than the kind of, shall we say, some of the legacy approaches of the IT industry, which was, here's a new technology, do you want to buy it? And then we'll work out how it fits into the business. So there is a much more business focus, much more engagement with business lines, as well as the CIO in that digital transformation world.
And the agility you get in those business models is key and important, and the partners you choose to go after that you work with, where you supply the key recipe that you need for your industry, and your partners supply the key capabilities that make you successful, that is going to be important.
I'm afraid I'm just totally distracted by the thought of being naked. It's one of
So am I, Richard.
It's one of the nightmares.
The thought of you naked is a distraction up here.
One of the standard nightmares you have of being naked on stage. But it did occur to me that would be a risky thing to be, and I'm just trying to segue into my next question here. Beautiful segue, taking away that awful image. And what, if you were looking to Jake, avoid risk? I mean, we've heard implications, we've got benefits, but there's got to be some risk avoidance you can do in this journey towards digital transformation. What would yourself, Jake, or Intel recommend there?
Well, first of all, John had it right. You have to pick great partners who can complement your business. So not everybody does everything well. Certainly for Intel, we do chips well, but we work with Fujitsu on doing robotics and artificial intelligence well inside of our next generation factories. Okay, that's partnering with somebody who does things better than you and trying to learn from each other. So first of all, partnerships are very important in minimizing risk. The second thing is understand the digital transformation risks to your business. Uber is a risk to anybody and any municipality that sells medallions for taxi cabs. Okay? That's a risk to your business. If you're a consumer packaged goods business, a web van or a Amazon delivery service is a risk and or an opportunity to your business, right? So when you think of digital transformation, yes, you have to think of cyber risks. Yes, you have to think of protecting your data. Yes, you have to think of protecting your data from your employees, who, by the way, are more likely to steal your data than outside sources. You have to do all of those things. But in the digital transformation process, don't forget strategically to protect your business from outside platforms that can displace you in the digital transformation. Okay. And then there's a really important point that John made about data, and we talked about it over lunch. And a decade ago, if I would have told this audience, keep every piece of customer data that you have ever created, I want to see a show of hands. How many people would raise their hands and say, in the last decade, my company has kept every piece of customer data ever recorded? Go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, so we've got 1 person, 1%, 2%? 2% of the room has saved every piece of customer data in the last decade. You've put your corporation at risk. And I don't mean to say that to alarm you, but in the digital transformation, as you move forward, as you think about your business going forward, customers, customer data, transactional data, that becomes the springboard for analytics that drives your business into that next wave. Whether that next wave for you is the first wave, the second wave, the third wave, or you're at AI and robotics, that's for you to decide. But making sure that you protect your data and that you build an infrastructure that can transform as the digital transformation takes place, that's the key to success long term.
But surely there's some industries that would be legally bound or forced to hold the data. For example, I mean, I'm trying to think of exexamples of industries.
Financial services have
financial services,
Yeah.
medical,
Isn't that our 2%?
Right? Right. So we've got healthcare raising their hand first, but if I then click down and I said, so you have every supplier transaction that you've ever done for the last decade? Yeah.
We've got
See,
an
now-
argument.
now-
you can't
now you
argue
have-
with the audience members, Jake, when they don't have a mic to shout back. That's a bit unfair.
No, but my point is that whether you're in the healthcare industry, whether you're in the financial services industry, we haven't taken the approach in IT, and that's been our mistake. We haven't taken the approach in IT to protect the data, to analyze the data, and to use that data as driving our digital transformation.
Well, I'm glad you said analyze the data, because collecting the data is not enough. So I don't know whether you knew this. I used to be a physicist, so I know that. You know what happened to the rocks that the first missions of NASA collected on the moon? They are in the same storage space where they were put the first time through, and never looked at it. So we have all these rocks collected on the moon, never analyzed, never did anything to it. And if the same thing happens to data, there's actually not much point of having them. So in translation, what that means is that it's not just the collecting, and as you correctly added yourself, but also doing the analysis. And that analysis it turns out to be, in many cases, quite hard to do. There is only so much you can get out of the data with generic methods. Generic method means you don't know anything about the data domain, where it has been collected, what is it about. You just look for anomalies. There are routines that do that. And there are a number of things you can do, but there is only so much. And then the data scientists come in, who are, if skilled well, conversational in the domain of expertise as well, because they know what questions you need to ask. And for that, we don't have yet artificial intelligence systems like the old cartoon, you know, when the guy is sitting in front of the screen and says, tell me what I'm looking for and go find it. That thing has not been implemented yet.
That sounds like the marketing queries I give of our business intelligence system. Understand me, computer. Excellent. So great examples, but has anyone actually done this yet, Alex? Give us some examples of people that are actually already trying to move forward in some of these areas.
Okay, so I'll give you two examples, and I'm sure my colleagues have examples as well. But Joseph mentioned co-innovation at the end of his talk this morning, and I think as you go into digital innovation, digital transformation, it's really important to work with customers to understand. They understand their business, they understand their business problems. So working with them, we bring the interesting technology, we bring some general expertise. But so from a co-innovation point of view, we worked with a train operating company in the United Kingdom to go to them and say, well, what are your key business challenges? Where do you really struggle? And one of those was on-train ticketing. They had these big old machines, very heavy, very expensive, terrible user experience, really hard, no real-time information. And so in literally 8 weeks, we pulled together a smartphone app that connected to the back-end train scheduling and ticketing systems we already provided, and enabled those on-train staff to be able to sell tickets, to provide real-time customer information. And that customer was so impressed with that, what we'd done, they went to all their other train operating company friends and said, oh, you really need to go and use this. This is great. And we couldn't have done that alone. That was not something, none of our engineers would have rolled out of bed in the morning and said, you know what I should do? I should build a really interesting real-time train ticketing system for guys to go out onto the trains and sell tickets. But with some customer insight and with some of our engineering skills, we were able to co-innovate and bring that to those customers. And then they can then start iterating on that, use that for onboard hospitality, all sorts of other things. The other example I wanted to give was really around transformation and business transformation. So there's, I think has been mentioned a couple of times today, there's an RFID conference going on just up the road in the Orange County Convention Center. And emergency equipment management is one of the topics under consideration there. So I flew over from London on Tuesday, and there were 444 passengers on the 747 I was on. I think I was the only business traveler on that plane. I was on my laptop. Everyone else was in shorts and t-shirts.
Oh, they were all coming on their vacation.
Oh yes,
To the Sunshine State.
They were all going to Disney except for me. So.
Despite the fact that we have giveaway tickets here.
Yeah.
You are not getting one of them.
Apparently not. So anyway, so the so those 444 passengers all have life vests under their seat. They all have oxygen masks that drop in the case of sudden loss of cabin pressure, as we're told at the start of every flight.
Whatever that means.
And oddly enough, they need to be checked regularly to check they're still there, check that they've not been tampered with. And that's a long process. That's people crawling around under seats with clipboards, writing down serial numbers and checking expiration dates. It takes about between 4 and 8 hours to do that on a plane that size. By using IoT technology, by tagging those life vests, those oxygen generators, you can walk up one aisle, down the other, in 747 up the stairs and back down again. 10 minutes. Actually, on a single aisle plane, maybe 2 minutes. And so the saving that you get in terms of time is great. But actually, it's then, well, where does that lead to from a business transformation? And because you're now on an individual seat level being able to very quickly spot what assets are going out of date, when they need replacing, you don't have to just roll through and replace all of those in one big batch and whole big sets of spares. You can be much more agile about how you use those, how you replace those assets. So you start getting a smoothing of your supply chain. You start being able to manage your inventory down, start getting economies of scale. And actually, from a life jacket manufacturer point of view, you start smoothing your cash flow as well. So that's sort of moving towards real business transformation in sort of an industry you wouldn't really expect to see that in.
No way. I'm glad. I didn't even know people checked those. I thought they were. I've never actually seen a life jacket on a plane. I just thought that was a story. They really are there, are they?
If you travel with small children, they give you one for the baby as well. So.
Thank goodness I never did. So
good.
So please, if you've got questions, get them ready. Tamara, I just saw her. She slipped off her Jimmy Choos. She put on some nice sneakers so she can run around the room. To give you the mic. So to get your questions ready, just raise your hand if you've got a question. And while you're thinking of your questions, I'm gonna throw one out there.
I could follow up with another customer example.
You want another customer already?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if
it's totally off schedule. Yeah. Yes, you absolutely can do that,
okay.
John. Please
do.
Well,
I mean, just to give an example that I think almost any industry needs to re-examine how it does things. And I'll share one that we often highlight that's unique. It's a business where if you're this far off, you lose. It's Formula One racing. So the Sauber team out of Switzerland is a customer of ours at NetApp, and they need data more than you would ever believe. Why? Because there's over 250 sensors on that Formula One race car when it's out there on the track, when it's training, or when it's actually in competition. And that data can be brought in and analyzed practically real time. And you can have mobile infrastructure and hybrid IT infrastructure behind it, so that data can come in and people can make adjustments that minute on the course. Do we need to adjust the tire pressure when it comes into the pit? Do we need to adjust the steering? Do we have a different fuel mixture that we think will work better in today's weather conditions? Different tire set. But there's 250 data points that are coming in. When we think about that, their winning ratio there could be that distance in that race that makes or breaks their day. And I think it's an illustration for all of our businesses where even though we think in terms of long-term, whether it's years or long-term plans or just even the quarter or the week, but competition comes down even to the little things we do, and data could empower better decision-making and a better chance of victory.
Excellent. And Jake, before I carry on with my little piece, do you have a nice customer you want to throw in now? He says, putting him on the spot.
Well, that's fine, yeah. Thank you. I'm not surprised, Richard, you put me on the spot.
You're most welcome.
About 8 years ago, we began working with a customer who had an idea that they actually wanted to offer what they called virtual machines at the time to everybody in the world. And so we spent a lot of time with this particular customer trying to figure out how do they take their retail consumer infrastructure and transition it to an infrastructure where they could do compute on demand. And it started with them virtualizing their infrastructure, and everybody says, well, okay, that doesn't seem like that big a deal. 2006, that was a pretty big deal. Now, that customer, who probably many people in this room work with today, deploys more virtual machines than anybody in the world. And they did it because they didn't just embrace technology, they found a way to use technology to embrace a business value. So whether it was using virtualization technology, whether it was using high-performance storage technologies, or whether it was actually just linking their business process, this customer now believes they'll be the largest retailer in the world and also the largest provider of cloud services. And they did it by taking one small step, finding a business value in a simple process, using that simple process to deliver immediate business value, and then looking at the core of their business and saying, how do we take this transformation from just virtualization to cloud computing to transform the way we deliver everything, including our supply chain, including movies, including the next industry that they want to take over.
Joseph, please.
Thank you. I'd like to throw in a whole country, not just a customer. So what happened in
Topper.
in Germany is that I don't know some German products and like cars. Ever heard of German cars? And they're not only good, but the German industry is actually thinking about what to do in an age where maintenance, the maintenance phase in the life cycle of the product is probably becoming more expensive than manufacturing itself. Currently, a good German car is made out of several thousand parts, and design the engine and the 9-gear automatic shift is a huge, huge thing, and it's difficult to build. Now, electric cars don't have that at all. They don't have an engine and don't have a gear shift, gearbox either. So what happens is that the value creation opportunity is shifting towards operations and the maintenance, and therefore you need to think about how you do that. Now, the whole country, the machine manufacturing and the industrial production is now creating a particular version of the IoT, Internet of Things. I dubbed it Industry 4.0, which is the German version of the industrial Internet of Things applications. And they are creating, like the Germans are, they're creating standards, and you would think, who needs that? Well, the last time they were doing that with the GSM of mobile phone standard, it actually turned out to be a very useful thing. And while you guys are dropping the lines on mobile systems here in the US, even today, that problem is virtually unknown in Europe. Because of those standards. And all of a sudden, the whole Chinese manufacturing is taking keen interest of what the Germans are doing, and the Japanese manufacturing is looking at that too, because it has become obvious that you can roll up the value creation process of any product and integrate it with maintenance in such a way that the manufacturer all of a sudden is not really known for manufacturing it, but actually providing it as a service. Product as a service with the lifecycle management included for a monthly fee. And that is changing the entire industrial production and planning. It started in Germany, now it's the neighboring countries, and where there is industrial production in Europe, parts of France, Switzerland, Austria, Denmark, some in the UK, and so on. So this is actually taking over all over Europe.
Yeah, and I'm sure that Jake probably has a continental example to just pick it up from the
hard to top that
the
one.
mere country example. So audience, please get ready with any questions you've got. Just raise your hand if you've got a question. While you're thinking of those questions, actually my phone did buzz and I got a little tweet here. I guess I'm a bashful person, I won't say who it is, who didn't have the guts to ask a live question, but they said, and I'm going to do it for you, Joseph, building on automotive, hang on. Let me read the thing properly. Are there any specific industries that you think will get more benefit out of digital transformation? That was the crux of the poorly written tweet.
Well, since I said in my presentation that it is essentially all industries, I'm going to say the same thing but differently. I'm going to say that the industries who have customers should be keenly interested in digital transformation, because in the simplest version, digital transformation is the inclusion of customers into the entire value creation process. Or industries who do any kind of manufacturing and need any kind of logistics, because there is a lot of optimization in terms of asset management, supply chain management, and so on. Or the public sector, because cities are sometimes a problem in terms of traffic and the pollution, and that can be controlled as well with these methods. So essentially, I cannot think of, and I used to say that, if a representative of any industry says to me that there's nothing that can use this whole digital transformation for, my response is, well, that's because you haven't thought about it long enough or hard enough. Now, having said that, all of them are in this game, but the industry part of it, the industrial production part of it, is the one that will be benefiting hugely because of the maintenance expenses. You do the math, and you will arrive at several trillion US dollars annual turnover that this planet is spending on maintenance only. So if you shave off 10% of that only, and digital transformation can do more than that, then we are still talking about real money.
Real money, real money. And Tamara, I think we have at least one. I got another one down here at the front as well, but lady in the middle.
Thank you, panel, for your wonderful insights. Andrea Clapworthy from Fujitsu. Just a really quick question.
Fujitsu
really.
Question first. That's
yeah,
a
sorry
cheat.
about that. I had the mic, you know. What do you think our customers need to do to keep up with the pace of change that their customers are demanding of them?
I'd be happy to take it. So,
dive in, Jake.
Yeah, so if I were to advise our customers, I would say this: mobile-first design methodology. And you could say consumerization, you could call it mobile-first. But no matter what industry you're in, there's an opportunity to personalize the services that you deliver. And there's no better way to deliver a personal service than to a mobile phone today. That may become a watch in the future. It may become your wallet. It may become your shoe. I don't know where we're going. I don't know what innovation. You know, it may become something in our teeth. We may do a tooth replacement. Who knows where we're going to go over time? But a mobile-first and or consumerization attitude in a design methodology on how you reach your customers will protect you from what I believe are the disruptors. Because the disruptors are really taking a mobile-first and a consumer-first view. And then, as John outlined, they're just matching up one service to another, like Airbnb, and you can go on and on. The list is pretty long. But when you take the mobile-first and consumerization view of how you're going to touch your customers and how you have to actually do your billing, do your administration, and do the back end, you give yourself an opportunity to compete today, tomorrow, and then possibly win in the future.
I think the other thing is get agile. So if you're spending more than a couple of months getting to the first release of whatever digital transformation you're doing it wrong. You're taking too long. You can't plan a 1-year, 2-year, even 6-month program of work to get somewhere with this. You've got to start quick, start small, and iterate and grow, because otherwise the world will move past you.
And to layer in on that, I just say, collaborating with your customers, really spending time with them, understanding their underlying needs. I think nothing beats that. I'd echo what was said by the other gentleman, but really understanding what drives their business, their customers' behavior, and where their issues are and being successful. Because every time you can line up and help them be successful in doing these practices will be another chance to build the relationship.
Just a quick comment. So there is a real problem here. And the problem is that the consumers, well, you were asking if the customers are more advanced. Real danger for us too, and for you too, because the world is upside down. Remember the old days when IT incorporations were the thing that everybody admired and said, wow, is that advanced? And today, the consumers are much more educated. They're using all sort of, all these media and possibilities, so the consumers are actually demanding from their providers and vendors stuff that they know in private life. And corporations are suffering and having a hard time to deliver on that. And then if you go one step further for the vendors like ourselves, then we need to provide that for the vendors who provide it to the consumers. So it's a demand side situation now. And oftentimes consumers demand things that we can't do. And because of that, we need to gear up.
So I'm going to not allow the panel to answer the question so completely in future because we're going to need to do more. Sir in the white shirt, right in front of me.
Yeah, Richard, I would be interested in the panel's recommendation on how do you secure the digital transformation. What recommendations would you offer to your customers and potential customers on how to secure the digital transformation?
I'll pick up, and I think I'll pick up on something that was mentioned earlier, I think by Jake, that the human factor is actually probably still the primary risk factor in any design, whether it's in hybrid IT, on-premise IT, cloud-based IT. And so making sure one understands that piece very clearly and the governance of the data, the residency of the data, the privacy of the data, recognizing that privacy and security are not the same as well. Getting a firm handle around those different elements, I think with a governance control over data so that data can move and your workload can move to meet the business need wherever that's needed, but within a governance framework. So I think that's a very key piece.
I think also make sure you understand the business problem you're trying to solve before you start the project and have clear metrics about it before you start the project. Where I see these projects fail is where it's a technology-led project. If you start with the business problem, it's not a digital transformation, it's a business solution with digital transformation technology underneath. And I think that's the core thing. Move fast, but at the very start, know that business challenge.
Excellent. We've got another one from the left, and then I don't want any more left questions. We want, or left for the audience. We want some right-hand questions after this, but sir, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Kevin Hare, Smucker Company. For us, we're always looking for new ways for our products to be used. What new revenue streams have you seen your customers generate from digital transformation?
Do you guys know what Smuckers does?
Yeah, I spread Smuckers every single day on the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches I make for my boys. So.
And do you drink their delicious coffee?
I do, actually. My father prefers Folgers, so yeah. I'll tell my father you clap for him. He'll be excited. So a couple of things. So analytics and consumerization have actually provided opportunities for many different customers that we work with to unlock the value. And what do I mean by unlock? Loyalty is a value. Loyalty is also a margin opportunity. How many people here have loyalty programs and know exactly what the margin is in their loyalty programs versus non-loyal customers? We've got one. Oh, we have another 1%er. Okay, so a loyalty program is a big deal, right? And loyalty programs you get through data and analytics. Okay, once you identify, now if Kevin, was that the name? Kevin, if you knew that I made, it's actually raspberry preserves, by the way, Smuckers every day for my son, it would be great if I actually got a coupon specifically for that on my mobile device that I could use at a local retailer. First of all, now you create a distribution supply chain with a local retailer, and you're definitely going to get me anyway, right? So, and I would never ever stray from buying a Marionberry from, Oregon Farms, as an example, versus buying...
As if you would.
As if I would. But so that's a way that we've seen analytics work in the right direction. The other thing that we've seen with analytics is you actually understand how your customer purchases your product. That transforms your supply chain, it can reduce your expense, and it can actually reduce your supply chain. If you were to take, just show of hands, if I were to reduce your supply chain by 10% of the vendors you work with, would you save more than 10% of your cost? Have you thought about that question? Right? So if you reduced your supply chain and consolidated it, would you save more than 10% of your costs? So those are the kind of things that analytics is able to give you once you actually begin to gather the data.
Jake, I felt like we had a mind melt because the example I was thinking of is one that's been touted in the industry. I don't know if it's proved out yet, but Nordstrom acquired the trunk company from USVP, venture capital firm, because Nordstrom wasn't having the same foot traffic that they were used to previously. And so they couldn't build up a relationship and a profile on their customers. And so what that did by acquiring this company that was internet-based is it sets up a regular delivery of particular clothing that you might prefer to wear. And they have a predictive analytics engine to help them decide which things to send to which people, helps them consolidate supply chain, but it also helps them build a deeper, richer relationship with their customer. And they can actually proactively send them clothing that the customers choose from. They might send some back. They might ask for more of another. But that was the poignant example that I had in mind. And I think it exactly mirrors up with the points that you laid out.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think we got time for one more. So let's do, was there someone in the middle? There we go. Thank you. I can just about see you.
Just about. Hi, Jennifer from the beer store in Canada. Can you help us understand which tools and technologies we should modernize first to best leverage digital transformation?
Who wants to do that?
I mean, I think about having a hybrid IT strategy as being a real important fundamental capability going forward, and having the ability to manage your data and govern your data effectively, because that's going to give you the foundation to springboard off into other areas with partners and achieve better customer success. So that's the foundation that I look for: data governance, data management, and that flexibility.
Just not to be in violent agreement here on the stage. I don't mean to be rude, but that's the wrong end of the stick. Don't ask this question. Ask a question about your business, where you would like to take it, and then ask only then, what are the technologies that I need to do that? There will be companies raising their hands to help you there. These are the technology companies who are there to assist you in the digital transformation. Your primary concern should be, where do you take your business, and what are the future business models that you would like to, where do you see opportunity, where you can extend what you do today? Then we will be able to tell you what technologies you need to touch.
Excellent answer, excellent. Thank you, audience. Thank you so much for your questions. We're right out of time, but I did want to get the panelists to leave you with one thought. I love events like this where there's an actual takeaway at the end. So I'm going to start with Alex first, because I just decided to do that. Even though I told them before I'd begin with Joseph, I've totally changed my mind, just because I am in charge.
Richard. Typical.
That's right. And so if there was one, not 11 things, just one thing, if there was one thing you would advise fine customers here and fine audience members here to do to get going with digital transformation, what would that be?
Set up a process that allows you to generate innovation from your business. So this isn't an IT problem, this is a business problem. And so is it open innovation, design thinking, co-innovation, whatever it is, get those ideas, get a way to funnel those ideas back into the business.
Spend more time with your customers. That's what I would say.
With our customers. Yes. Jake?
Mobile first. If you touch consumers, mobile first.
I could say now, Fujitsu first.
You are at the end, Joseph. You can say what you like.
No. So if you want to start slowly and do improvements here, improvements there, leave it with the IT guys. They will be able to do that. However, if the company wants to take it as far as changing the business model and break existing things, you need an empowered person who probably reports to the CEO and has enough people working for him and enough empowerment that he can actually break the current model. So you need to find the champion for that.
Superb. Panel members, thank you so much for being with us on stage. Please, everyone, give them a little round of applause.